Howdy, folks. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today I have for you something different out of my content. Normally, I do video games, but today I'm going to do something a bit different. I'm going to start a web series called Bjorn's Mighty Thoughts. And basically, I'm just going to throw my thoughts out there, however random they may be, on a certain subject. Today, I'm actually going to talk about the Avengers Endgame. I know I'm jumping on the bandwagon, and a lot of people are doing videos about Avengers Endgame. But actually, what I'm going to focus on is more about how I feel about the film, high points I felt about the film, low points I felt about the film, and obviously how I feel about the future of the MCU. So let's begin, shall we? So here we are, Avengers Endgame. How I felt about the movie in general. Good movie. But I walked away not knowing how I felt about the movie. And I'm going to dig into more of that here soon. As plots go, the idea is the Avengers go back in time, steal the Infinity Stones, makes an Infinity Gauntlet, bring back everybody who was essentially turned to ash in Avengers Infinity War, and yeah. Well, in the process of all this happening, Thanos finds out. And yeah, all chaos ensues. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because obviously I don't want to give away too many spoilers. I mean, I know the movie's been out for a week and has made well over $1 billion, but obviously there's still people out there who hasn't seen the movie. So this was one of the high points. At one point, this is actually back in the past where Hawkeye, which actually is Ronan in the movie, and Black Widow go to get the Soul Stone. And essentially, obviously, just as before with Avengers Infinity War, someone has to be sacrificed to get the Soul Stone. And basically a fight between the two breaks out, and finally one of them sacrifices themselves. Slight spoiler alert. Yeah, that solo Black Widow movie might be a little complicated now, but I still want to see one. I actually felt this was one of the better fights of the movie. To see two, they essentially are two equally matched opponents. Black Widow obviously having a slight edge in hand-to-hand combat, but Hawkeye having a definite edge in ranged combat, and it turned out to be very interesting and actually very heartfelt between the two. It was definitely one of my favorite parts of the film. Oh my God, the Big Lebowski Thor with the dad bod. Now I know people are going off about fat shaming and all this other stuff because, SJWs and political reasons, but this was honestly one of my favorite parts of the film, especially the rib. And, you know, maybe these SJWs don't have any real friends or something. I'm not quite sure. Maybe they're too much of internet warriors. But what I saw was basically a friendly rib and people just trying to kick Thor in the ass and get him remotivated to fight again. And they succeed. Thor suits up, and at the end of the movie, he actually kicks pretty decent ass for looking like the Big Lebowski. Moving on. Now, this isn't the actual cameo of Stan Lee, but there was a cameo of Stan Lee. I'm not going to show the actual cameo of Stan Lee because I don't want to ruin that for anybody. But it made me smile. His cameos usually do make me smile. And unfortunately, I'm pretty sure this is the last cameo with Stan Lee because obviously his passing, which I actually did mourn a little bit about his passing, but it was nice to see him on the big screen at least one last time. Captain America picking up Mjolnir. Now, this scene was probably the most badass scene of the whole movie was Captain America with his shield and Mjolnir and beating the ever living piss out of Thanos. Just a man, and gave him a hell of a run for his money. Now, at the end of the day, Thanos would win the fight between the two. Um, but Cap never backed down, even when his shield was cut in half. He kept going. Um, yeah, Captain America. That's why he's one of my favorite superheroes. He never backs down, even from a fight he could lose. And then this part here, probably one of the saddest parts, but I knew this part was going to be coming. Iron Man having to sacrifice himself to save the day. At some point towards the end of the film, Thanos actually finally gets his hands on the Infinity Gauntlet again, which was unfortunate. Because what ended up happening was Iron Man had to quickly remove the gems from the gauntlet. Luckily, Thanos didn't notice. Essentially put the gems in his armor, another gauntlet. With his helmet off, looks Thanos square in the eye and says, "I am Iron Man," and snaps his fingers. He ends up killing off all of Thanos' soldiers and Thanos himself, turns them all into dust. But at the end of the day, Iron Man is just a man and ended up killing himself in the process. That part did make me sad, but it was a nice send-off to the man who started it all in the MCU. As another send-off too, Captain America has to go back in time to um, essentially put all the Infinity Stones back to where they got them from. There's a bit of a plot point there in the movie. Once again, I'm not going to get into too much detail. But the moment Captain America was supposed to return from the past with his mission complete, he doesn't. And that's because not far away, there's a park bench. And there sits there sits Steve Rogers, an old man. And basically he explains that he went back in time, delivered the stones the way he was supposed to, and then lived his life out with Peggy Carter. That's a hell of an end, once again, to a great hero that really helped build it all. And it was nice to see him pass his shield on. Now, in my heart, I really wanted it to go to Bucky. And everybody knows Bucky at one point was Captain America. But realistically, in my mind, I knew it was going to go to Falcon. He's the most current Captain America in the comics that I'm aware of. He still is Captain America in the comics. He's also been a sidekick for a long time to Captain America. Actually, I think maybe the late 80s. I have a comic from the very early 90s that it's Captain America and Falcon together. Falcon's been a long running sidekick with Captain America, and it was a good heartfelt send off to Captain America. However, things are also kind of written that Captain America that Steve could come back. You'll have to watch the movie and really think about that one. And then the Big Lebowski, Thor himself, he actually ends up going off with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So all this said and done, the three primary characters, the three characters that were focused throughout every phase, I felt, all had pretty nice send-offs. Thor, obviously, is going to most likely be in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. Now, some concerns here. Some parts I didn't like about the movie. One, we're going to start with Captain Marvel. Now, honestly, her impact in Avengers Endgame was, it was a joke. She showed up for about 2 minutes in the beginning of the film, pretty much got a rib made of her. I missed a part. She shows up out of nowhere, unexplained, saves Tony Stark and Nebula in a derelict ship. Not sure how she knew where to find them, but she found them. later, about the mid part of the film, she's seen again for about 30 seconds, where once again she's practically useless. And then she shows up at the end of the film to fight Thanos, where once again she's practically useless because Thanos knocks her out with one punch. Which is actually pretty fitting in the comics because Thanos actually does knock her out in the comics with one punch. And then Valkyrie, which I feel like is a character. Marvel wants to push a female character, a strong female character. Valkyrie is actually a strong female character and has had some fairly successful series in the comic books, especially with the Defenders. And she also had the Running Fear Itself series. They really didn't do anything with her in the film. And I was actually kind of disappointed in that. I would have liked to have seen more from this Asgardian, considering she's one of the last Asgardians, considering that the Asgardians was wiped out by Thanos. Well, the surviving Asgardians were wiped out by Thanos. And there's still a few survivors, which Thor kind of tips his hat off to her, and she's now kind of in charge of this whole Asgardian village, which I guess is kind of cool. I really actually do hope to see more of Valkyrie in the future, and surprisingly, why I didn't really think she'd be that great of a character in Thor Ragnarok, I actually really liked her appearance in Thor Ragnarok, and hope to, as I said, hope to see more of her in the future. On to Captain Plank, though, as I call her Captain Plank, she has the acting ability of a piece of plywood. Seriously. Okay, so I figured cut her some slack. Avengers Endgame was her first film. Okay, that's fine. But then Captain Marvel, she had the emotions of a plank of wood. She's supposed to be the lead of the MCU, which has me very concerned, honestly. But in any case, it was, I felt, a fairly fitting end to what started it all off 10 years ago with Iron Man. It was a pretty damn good movie. As I said, I kind of walked away with a feeling of I'm not sure really how I feel. I guess at this point I feel relieved because it's like this has been an ongoing series for 10 years. And it was a good send-off. Now I'm going to talk about Phase 4 for a little bit, and this is where I got concerns. Big thing is right now, Marvel Studios is going off about being more PC, which has me concerned because I feel like them being more focused on being PC versus having good stories is going to affect the movies, just as well as it affected the comic has been affecting the comic books slowly. And comic books are on a kind of a downward spiral right now with the modern series of comic books they have. And I feel the same thing is going to happen with the movies. So that's the part of I feel relieved that it's over. Because honestly, I don't think I need to see any more. I've seen everything I needed to see. It was one hell of a run. It was probably the best series of movies that there's been in the last 30 plus years. Probably since Star Wars, really, the originals. And yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. So anyway, folks, if you did enjoy the film, yeah. Anyway, folks, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to see more videos like this down the road. I'm going to touch on multiple subjects, such as maybe from times politics, a firearms review, or whatever. I don't know what I'm going to talk about until I actually do the videos. And also leave your comments below. How did you feel about Avengers Endgame? What was your favorite part? Anyway, folks, once again, thank you very much for watching. And hopefully I'll see you on the next one.